Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yeah.
Good morning, everybody. It's cold today. My God, it's cold. Damn, that stuff's good. So, I'm in the black Jeep. This thing's been running flawlessly since I put the coil on it. You hear that static? You can hear a little bit of static. That's just so fine Pioneer 80 POS. We'll turn it off. Anyway, I got some big things in store. I designed an enclosure for this thing yesterday. It drove me mad. Just because the port is going to be so long to tune this thing at like 27 hertz that, you know, you design an enclosure that's like a cube and a half more than what the subs require. And then, you know, you use like a port calculator to port, just to get the length of the port you need. I can figure it out ballpark, but I like to be precise. So, you know, you already have the width of the port and the height, and then you turn around and like find the length, and then you do the math on that, and you come to find out that the port itself is eating up like 2.5 cubes of your airspace inside, which is going to make the enclosure way too small. Yeah, that ate up a lot of time because the enclosure is going to wind up being like 10 cubes in here. Yeah, eating up 10 cubes just because the dang port is so long. It's crazy. Yeah, I wound up with like a port that's like right at 3 cubes. But anyway, I don't even know how that enclosure is going to fit back there. I mean, I got the width in the front and back, so it's just going to be super tall. I'll be trying to look in the rearview mirror and see sub. But anyway, guys, man, I've had some really great comments. I dig it. I do have a surprise going on the black Jeep here. Y'all see that in a few weeks. But we got to make the black Jeep look really good, which the Raptor liner is going to help it a lot. But there's other things, you know, I've been kind of sitting here figuring out door plans, which my channel is going to get really, really weird here. Like, starting this week, I don't even know if I'm going to have any content for this weekend. You guys, you know, I always film something on my days off because I'm usually always working on something. Man, I was looking at the forecast and they're calling for snow here Saturday night and Sunday. Who knows? It'd be kind of cool if it does because both vehicles I own are four-wheel drive. Even the wife's Edge all-wheel drive. But they're saying like 2.5 inches, which would be awesome. I will tell you, people down here lose their shit when it snows. These people, they have no clue what's going on. I mean, they get lost in everything. They absolutely go berserk, you know. I've seen it snow like this much before, and there will be cars in the median of like Highway 501 on the roof. Like, how the hell they flip a car on like a 1/16 of an inch of snow, which they do it on wet pavement down here. So, but it's just a mystery. We can get 1/8 of an inch of snow and this whole place will shut down. Like, they'll be like, oh, the cops can't come to you. They're snowed in. That's literally how it gets down here. But, yeah, that's going to really affect my filming. We got to work on this black Jeep, my blue Jeep, Deb's Blazer, and the Edge all at the same time, pretty much. So from weekend to weekend, I'm going to be kind of jumping around. Like, I got the majority of the amps out of my Jeep. I got to pull the subs out of my Jeep. And I done told you, the guys that watch this all the time, when I built my enclosure, I screwed up. I put the ports in before I drilled the hose for my speaker wires. Yeah, that kind of sucks. So I definitely had to move them, and which means I got to try to break my ports apart. I've done it before. I don't know if it's going to go good, you know, because you got to get in there and softly beat on that PVC to try to get it to split. But I have that going on. I have to get that done, kind of split the port so I can drill and put my threaded rod for my speaker connectors through the side versus straight out the back. Because straight out the back, it's just eating up so much room with my amplifiers like that close to the floor. So I'd like to move them up like that much. So I got that going on. And Deb's Blazer, you know, we're doing a door rebuild. And the Blue Jeep, in addition to doing that, I also have to swap some subs around and put recones in 2 of them to go dual 2. I got that going on. There's just a lot of stuff, guys. It really sucks. Let's see what else I got going on. The whole build for this thing. And then 2 of my subs that are going in my Jeep are in the Ford Edge. So I have to pull the Ford Edge apart, put the FIs back in it, and I'm torn as to whether I'm going to leave that big Vital Power amp in there and the 45 amp hour C-Max, or put her LTO bank back in it with the 2 smaller amps. I don't know yet. The Edge, it's been charging great since the cool weather hit, but at the same time, the car itself don't like 16 volt. So there's that. Now let's get into the subject of today's video. One of you guys wanted to know about ground points in a car. And when it comes to ground points, the more the merrier. Definitely. And this black Jeep this morning, oddly enough, like yesterday, I looked down at the voltmeter and it was at 14.5. I'm like, wow, that is crazy. Because this thing has crappy ground points. This morning I get in and I'm on the way to where I'm sitting here filming, and it was at 14.6. Now, mind you, I didn't do anything to the electrical on this as far as voltage wise, other than I'm on a 48 amp hour headway bank and a 320 amp alternator. Luckily, the Jeep factory plugged right into the alternator. That is how it's hooked up. So I'm getting amazing voltage in here now. But I kind of did, you know, I built this thing like with spare stuff I had laying around for the most part. I did order like the amp, the sub, the mids and highs in it my daughter bought. But as far as wiring and stuff like that, it's kind of what I had laying around. Now, with that being said, we are on, what was I going to say? Damn, get confused, guys. We have no ground wire ran through here. I have CCA, like 1/0 from under the hood to the back battery bank. So that's not a lot, guys. It's just CCA. I'm probably at the limit of the CCA, just being there's one run of it. There is no ground run. There was nowhere back there decent to actually ground to at all. There's a place on the side over here where the factory spare tire would bolt to. I'm using that spot for a ground. That's the only ground in the whole vehicle, because the headway's grounded to that. The car's running off of it. Now, I don't recommend that. I did it in here because there's only a 3K in here, and the 3K's hooked directly to the battery. But the battery powers the car and gets charged through that one ground cable. I highly don't, you know, it's going to have to be redone. And I believe it is a piece of like 2/0 welding cable, which is okay. Like I said, I got CCA, the positive run from the alternator back. Now, I am going to have to change all the wiring in here out. You know, I'm going to do a ground run. I would recommend you guys do a ground run from your alternators to your back battery bank. I tested the theory before. When I built Jangalang, I just did like runs of, I built it with CCA originally. I had those runs from the alternator back to the battery. And I had a couple runs of ground wire going from the battery to the seatbelt bolts under the enclosure. And I thought it was fine. You know, you always do your big 4, 5, 6 under the hood, whatever you can do. You always do that. But I was like, I don't need them independent runs from the alternator back for ground, because the chassis is a good ground. And in reality, it's not. I mean, I know we've all seen Steve Mead do it, and he uses straight frame ground. And it probably works fine for him. I mean, he's doing like 8 runs, but in essence, copper is a better conductor than steel any day of the week. And when you do ground runs from front to back, you do notice a difference, because I did. And where it really improved things was I had better voltage overall doing demos and everything by just adding ground runs from the front to back. And I noticed the charge time. Like if I run my battery kind of low, playing steadily, you know, if I dropped a volt or two, which hardly ever happens, but if I did, as soon as I turned the radio down, the voltage would come back up way quicker. And that's just because you had to stop and think about it. At the end of the day, copper is a better conductor than steel. Therefore, do ground run with your power run from front to back. It's only going to help you. It's not going to hurt. Now, will it work not having it? Absolutely. We've all been doing it forever. I mean, when I got into car radio, nobody ran a ground from the alternator back. We would all just try to find a spot in the chassis, sand it down a little bit, drill a hole in it, put a self-tapper in it, and we're done. And then we moved to bigger amplifiers that took bigger cables. But, you know, and at some point we would all move to the frame, you know, grind the frame down. If you had a car that actually had a steel frame, you know, you hit it with a grinder, you stick a bolt there, you weld around it, and you got a new ground. But today we found out, you know, it is a little better running a copper wire, you know, your power runs. Do ground wire. I actually have like the ground wire for this. I found my piece of 2-aught that I was talking about in a prior video. It is a decent length. If it's the length of this whole vehicle, I won't have to order red wire, which I'm hoping it is, because I don't really want to order red wire. I did order ground wire, and I don't even know when it's going to come in, but that's going to pretty much get me set up on my whole ground side. I have a lot of pieces of red wire laying around, so. And in reality, if I had this system to do over, I would probably try to run black wire for ground and search really hard if anybody made a gray wire for positive, but they won't. Because when it's all said and done, I would like everything in this Jeep, like even inside of it here, to be black. I want to do black wheels, obviously black tires, black windows, black Jeep, black interior, like everything that can be black, I'm going to do it black. When I build the speaker enclosure for this, like I said, I'm going to use pretty much wood that I have laid out at my buddy Billy's. He's got leftover wood out there as well. We're going to try to build the enclosure with scrap wood. I was sitting at work thinking about it yesterday, and I'm like, I have some old black tattoo ink. I'm going to bring the tattoo ink home, and I'm going to put it in a spray bottle with isopropyl alcohol, shake it up, and I'm going to try to spray the enclosure with that when I get it done and see how it'll react. I think by thinning it out with isopropyl alcohol, because black tattoo ink, I mean, that stuff is blacker than black. You know, it's like Cedric the Entertainer black. I shouldn't say that, but that dude was dark. But God, he was funny too. But anyway, I'm gonna try to get it to a spot where I can still see wood grain through it. And I'm 100% positive tattoo ink is gonna stain wood better than like unicorn spit. I would use tattoo ink any day of the week over unicorn spit. So guys out there wanting to play with like crazy colors of their enclosure, just get on Wish, eBay, and buy the cheapest kit of tattoo ink you can. I'm sure you can find one for like $5 because they sell to anybody on Amazon or eBay. But I'm going to thin it with a little isopropyl alcohol, which will evaporate off. Hopefully I can get some good shades out of it. And by shades, where you can see a little bit of the wood grain pattern. And then after that dries, I'm probably just going to get some urethane and like coat the enclosure to give it a little bit of shine and done. Like I said, budget build, guys. But I do have, like I said, I have something big coming for this Jeep. So that's supposed to be here right before the end of the year. I still have to get a lift kit for this thing. I got a whole build to do on this thing. And while I'm at it, I do have a buddy that's got a Jeep just like this that he has been parting out forever because the doors on my Jeep came off of it. And I believe it had black on black door panels, and I know all this stuff in it was black. So I'm going to try to get a hold of him and see what kind of horse trading we can do for me to get the majority of the interior out of that Jeep. And I remember the seats in it were black and they were like in really good condition. I want those for this. So anyway, guys, that's all I got going on today. Definitely, you're going to be improving your system with the ground wire from the alternator to the battery in the back. Do you need equal runs of ground as you do power? You know, I would say yes, but there's always a but in life, you know. If you already have a handful of grounds going to the chassis from your battery, I would say you can cut it in half, you know. Like if you got 4 hot wires going from front to back, you could add 2 grounds from front to back and leave them, and you're going to be evened out. And you remember, it is important under the hood to have grounds going from like the alternator to the engine, from the engine to the firewall, from the alternator to the firewall. You know, your big 3, big 4, however many wires you can fit on there is definitely gonna help improve things. And a lot of times it'll help get rid of that alternator whine that you have coming through your speakers. A lot of times, you know, people, they'll up everything when they do the big 3, but they really neglect taking a wire from the alternator to the firewall of the vehicle or whatever, or from the alternator to the chassis of the vehicle. If you have chassis grounds, but no grounds coming from the alternator to the chassis under the hood, it's not doing a whole lot of good for anybody, you know. A lot of times the factory ground going from the engine block, which they're assuming that the alternator grounds the engine block. A lot of factory grounds coming from the engine block to the chassis are smaller than my pinky, guys. Remember that. And a lot of us are running, you know, over a 300 amp alternator. You need that extra ground. And by extra ground, I'm saying you need that extra ground just going from the engine block to the frame somewhere up front. And then even goes further, because in a lot of vehicles, if it has a frame, Jeep unibody, it don't, but if a vehicle has a frame, there are rubber bushings between the car body and the frame, which makes it really hard to transfer ground through there. Therefore, from engine block to firewall is always an important ground also. A lot of you guys using factory wiring for your head unit, and your head unit is grounded to chassis somewhere in your dash. So just coming from, you know, alternator to engine block to frame, and engine block to firewall, the body of the car is going to help. So remember that when you're dealing with alternator whine. I've dealt with it before, and, you know, I have all them grounds done. normally when I have alternator whine, it's because the bass done knocked the speaker wire out of a speaker in the door and it's just laying there grounding out. Check all them too. But anyway, guys, peace out and bass on.